Since most people are staying at home, a lot of you guys are probably thinking of starting your own YouTube channel. And one of the first things that you might actually need is a camera. In today's video, we're going to be talking about a camera that's not the EOS R5, not the Sony a7S III, and definitely doesn't cost more than 500 bucks. What's going on, guys? My name is Al Caldejon. Welcome to my first YouTube video. We're gonna be on this journey together, and so if you are just starting out and if you're wondering what camera I'm about to recommend you, it's none other than the Canon EOS R. No, I'm just kidding. It's the G7X Mark II, and this is probably one of the oldest cameras that I have and I own. So let's start with the reasons why you might want to pick one up. Let's start with the specs. The G7X Mark II shoots at 1080p at up to 60 frames per second, though that may not sound as impressive, especially today that most cameras shoot at 4K, but you've got to realize that 1080p is the resolution that most people are going to be watching these YouTube videos. Most people are not going to be watching on big monitors and computers. Most people are going to be watching on their phones, right? And so pair that with the 60 frames per second capability, you have yourself a pretty decent camera that you could capture slow-mo with. Fun fact, filmmaker YouTubers like Potato Jet, Peter McKinnon, and Casey Neistat actually used to vlog at 1080p and grew their channel at 1080p, and Casey Neistat used one of these. But what sets this camera apart from the other cameras is that it's so tiny. It has a 24 to 100mm equivalent lens at f1.8 from the wide end to 2.8. That's crazy amount of bokeh and light that it lets into this 1-inch sensor that it has in the body. So at f1.8 at 24mm is kind of like what you're seeing right now, and I've set this camera at f2 to kind of mimic what look you could get at the same settings, if that makes sense. You'll probably get a blurrier background with this camera since it has a bigger sensor, but all in all, this camera looks pretty good. And of course, that f1.8 is useless. If you're gonna be outside and you want to shoot at the correct shutter speed, you're probably gonna have to bump it up if you don't have an ND filter. But luckily for you, this camera has a built-in ND filter, and many cameras these days that are like $3,000 don't have built-in ND filters. You're probably gonna have to get like a C200, C300 to get built-in ND filters, and this camera for less than 500 bucks has built-in ND filter, and it fits in your pocket. So if you're vlogging and you're outside, the sun is shining so bright and you want to get that blurry background, you still can get that with this camera because of the ND filter. And if you're gonna be vlogging with this camera, one of the reasons why you should probably get this is because you're gonna get those bumps and those jitters, and this camera has a built-in image stabilization, and so that's gonna help a lot when you're walking outside. And I actually have some sample footage of me vlogging. Let's get to that. A really good camera for you guys, especially when you're out about. It's not too big, so you're not gonna get called out for it as much if it was a bigger camera with a mic. And now I'm just hand holding it with, I'm actually bumping up the shutter speed so the motion blur is not there, because I didn't want to sacrifice that 1.8 with the bokeh. And yeah, this is really good. The audio though, sometimes you'll pick up some wind, but there's easy fixes. There should be like a ton of videos on YouTube on how to fix that with the Casey Neistat that started it. So hey, if it worked for him, it should probably work for you. Alright, the next thing, audio quality on this camera is pretty decent. It's not really good, but it's okay for just vlogging outside, especially if you're outside, which is the next point I'm gonna get to. The portability of this camera is insane. Like, this fits in your pocket, like literally. Look at the size of that. This is my hand, and see, me and my girlfriend actually kind of vlogs in Tagalog, or Filipino for some of you guys if you don't know what Tagalog is. It's the Filipino language. Me and my girlfriend actually vlogs with a DSLR with a big microphone, and sometimes I feel kind of shy pulling it out, especially if you're just starting out. And you're not as comfortable as other people who have been doing this for so long. This camera is not as intimidating, and you're not gonna get called out for it as much if you were carrying like a big DSLR with a big lens with a Joby GorillaPod and a mic on top of it. I mean, look at this. And of course, I'm gonna be honest, if you're not using the camera just for YouTube and you're actually wanting to get paid, I probably would not recommend one of these. I'd probably get something that has an interchangeable lens camera, only because you can upgrade lenses, and if you invest on lenses you can probably use that with your next camera as well. But if you're doing just YouTube, this is more than enough. Right now we're shooting at the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. That's a really long name, but we have it paired with a Sigma 18-35 with the Viltrox Speed Booster. Right now I have it set at 20mm at f2, so that way you kind of get the same look with the G7X Mark II. Of course this is going to be better, it's no doubt, but I'm going to show you how it compares side by side and how the G7X Mark II can actually keep up with the cinema camera like the Blackmagic. Let's do it. So as you can see, with the decent lighting and a really good audio, you can make a pretty good image and make really good videos with the G7X Mark II with a camera this size. So you're probably wondering, why would I start with this camera if there's so many cameras out there in the market that's offering way better image quality? I would say because of the price. The price of this camera, you can probably pick one up for about 400 bucks if you're lucky, but you can probably find a lot of these out there on Facebook Market or Craigslist, or if that even still exists, for $450. So for less than 500 bucks you get a camera with a lens that goes down to f1.8, because let's admit it, bokeh matters. But you still have some money left to invest on some decent lighting, some decent audio equipment, which is really good, especially if you're just starting out. Most often than not, some people actually stop making YouTube videos because they realize how much work you actually need to put in to make these videos. And so starting out with this kind of a budget, even if you stop making YouTube videos, this camera takes some really good photos, like these ones. This camera has 20 megapixels and it shoots raw, so you can edit it as much as you can and have better photos than your iPhone can take. And I bet you this takes better photos than your iPhone, and it fits in your pocket still. So there you go. Those are some of the reasons why I think you should start with this camera or something of equivalent and not spend a whole bunch of money, especially if you're just starting out. But definitely upgrade as you progress, so you could increase some production value. But I don't recommend starting with crazy equipment. I have these because this is what I kind of do for a living. But if you don't have these already at your disposal, this is a good camera to start with. That's it for the G7X Mark II. If you guys were wondering how I lit this and the audio equipment that I use, if you want me to make a video on that, comment down below. Have some links down in the description. Of course, they're going to be affiliate links, but and it really helps out this channel, especially for me, since I cannot monetize these videos just yet. But yeah, so a really decent image, better lighting equipment, better audio equipment, and you've got yourself a pretty good setup. And you just missing one thing, which is the most important, which is content. Content is what's gonna make your videos stand out from other people. And so if you have decent equipment but you have some golden content, you're gonna be pretty good. I'm not pretty good, so I want you to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button if you have gotten this far into the video. I want to thank you so much personally, and I want to say that welcome to this journey, because welcome to my first video. This is probably not going to be the last one, hopefully. And hit that subscribe button, not yet, like it, and thank you so much. And always remember that I love you, and let's get better together.